from love. Isn't that the most beautiful message that you can have heard for such a long time? And as we move out of that energy, I invite you to open your eyes if you've had your eyes closed, and bring your awareness back into your body. Bring your awareness back into the room, because we don't want you to miss anything that's going to happen from here on in. We have two incredible and amazing guests joining us this evening, and it's Mark Victor Hansen and his beautiful, gorgeous wife, Crystal Dwyer Hansen. And I just want to make sure they're both there before we continue. Mark and Crystal, are you there?
We are more than excited to be with you. Thank you for having us.
Nice to see you both.
Oh, how wonderful. Well, Lee and I want to tell everyone about you, although it seems impossible that there would be people who don't know about you.
And this is one of the most astonishing biographies I think I have ever seen.
Yes.
Especially for this show. Mon, I'm going to ask you to introduce Crystal first.
I would love to,
Okay.
because Crystal is an international speaker, researcher, corporate consultant, author and entrepreneur. Her expertise is in the field of human potential, and through her years spent as a transformational life coach and a wellness nutrition expert, she has seen people experience profound and lasting transformation in relationships, career, health and wellness, simply by tapping into their own inner resources. Now, having personally guided people from seemingly impossible states of depression, anxiety and hopelessness to triumph, freedom and happiness is what drives Crystal's conviction that all people have unlimited potential for greatness if they only understand how to access those resources. And her book, Skinny Life, The Secret to Being Physically, Emotionally and Spiritually Fit, is available on Barnes & Noble, but Amazon also has it as well. And she travels the world with her husband, best-selling author and entrepreneur Mark Victor Hansen, and together they wrote a book in 2020, and it's called Ask, the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny.
Mark Victor Hansen, best known, of course, the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Best series, it's a book series and brand-setting world record in book sales. I'm stumbling because this is just an astonishing number. Are you ready? With over 500 million books sold. You just get your mind around that. Mark also worked his way into worldwide spotlight as a sought-after keynote speaker, entrepreneurial marketing maven, creating a stream of successful people who have created massive success for themselves through Mark's unique teaching and his wisdom. Mark has spoken to over 6,000 audiences worldwide. He's also a prolific writer with 307 books authored or co-authored, such as The Power of Focus, The Aladdin Factor, Dare to Win, and of course, One Minute Millionaire. Mark has appeared on Oprah, CNN, The Today Show, national print, of course. Media would be Time, U.S. News and World Report, USA Today, and of course, the New York Times. He is the recipient, are you ready? 10 honorary doctorates and countless awards, his favorite being the Horatio Alger Award for Distinguished Americans. You are a distinguished American, sir, and thank you both for joining us today.
My mother would have loved you reading that. I'm telling you, she would have been surprised.
Well, I enjoyed reading it.
So tell us about...
Just one aside that sort of fits this show. Dr. Daniel Lehman was our neighbor and friend back in California. We now live in Scottsdale, Arizona. And he did the brain exam on both of us. I mean, he'd done 165,000 of them, but he looked in there and said, "Hey, it's all healthy. You're not ever going to have Alzheimer's and all that." And I said, that would make my mommy and daddy so proud, because they used to say, "Do you have a brain in there?"
We have what you're known for so many things. Let's talk about this book, and
Yes.
it's all about asking. I would say.
What happens is we travel literally around the world, 80 countries, meet all kinds of wonderful people, educated people, talented people, smart people. But the difference between somebody who succeeds a little and somebody who's vastly successful is one thing only we discovered, and that is they learned how to ASK, to GET what they want. And we discovered everybody was coded with a destiny by God at birth. And most people have never looked at it. They said, no, you don't understand. I'm an engineer. I'm a doctor. I'm a garbage man. Oh, that's what you do. That's not who you are. And we said, look, there are three avenues to ask. Ask yourself, ask others, and ask God. And what we did is we've unfolded it. And as we've done that, since the book came out during the height of COVID, which our publisher asked us to push it back, and we said, no.
Yeah.
Once I've worked this hard on making a great and inspiring book, it's going to outsell Chicken Soup for the Soul. Just watch. And that's sort of what's happening, but it's doing it literally around the world because of Zoom, because of podcasts. We've talked to 10 million people one time in Vietnam and stuff like that. It's something that could never have happened, Lee or Monica, ever before in history. And I've always thought of myself, you're either leading edge, cutting edge, dull edge, or trailing edge. I only want to be leading edge.
That's awesome.
I've never heard that before.
I know. So give us the premise of the book and what you want to talk about.
So basically, the book is about learning the art and science of asking. And like Mark was saying, we looked at other people, but then as we started exploring this topic of asking to find the answers, as he was saying, we found that there were actually 3 channels through which we all need to learn to ask. And those are ask yourself, ask others, and ask God. And each one of those channels is equally important to find your way forward and to continue to become the best expression of yourself again and again. And when we looked back at our own lives, it's interesting, you guys, Lee and Monica, because you guys probably experienced this too. When you've achieved a certain measure of success, people look at you and think, oh gosh, everything's been so good in your life. I wish I could have that kind of life. What was that like? And it's just not true. I mean, Mark and I have, individually and together been through all kinds of issues, problems, adversities. And what we discovered when we started exploring our own journey as we were writing this book is that it was our ability to ask our way forward that was the very thing that got us out of the problems, the issues, the turmoil, and onto the next answer, the next solution, the next breakthrough. And so we shared some of those stories. And just, I think one of the most profound situations for me was a time when I was very young. I was one of those kids who found high school to be easy and kind of boring. So I accelerated my curriculum, graduated myself at age 16, and married the first guy, my boyfriend, who was 5 years older. And turned out not to be a very good life plan because I found myself divorced 2.5 years later, baby on my hip in a new city, no family, no friends, and honestly, no idea what I was going to do with my life or how to make any money. And so I applied for food stamps, the only thing I could think of doing. And I remember standing there that day at the grocery store, getting ready to turn those food stamps over for groceries and diapers. And a question dropped into my mind. I had this instant epiphany. And the first question was, how did I get here? Followed by the second question that was so profound, coming from my higher self or God. But it was just like, are you doing the best you can to get out of this situation, or are you taking the easy way out? And the second my mind asked that question, I knew the answer. I knew I wasn't doing the best I could. I didn't even know what that meant, but I knew there was more inside of me. And so in that instant, I had this pivot where I was saying to myself, this will not be my future. As I'm turning over those food stamps, I go home to my little apartment where I'm getting eviction notices every single month. Oh. And I suddenly have this awareness that even though I don't have answers, I have questions. So I keep asking, who would hire me tomorrow? How can I earn money tomorrow? The second I ask those questions, bam, the answer's there. I remembered hearing on the radio, Kelly services, come get, start work tomorrow, earn money tomorrow. I call them, I apply. They're sending me out suddenly on all of these jobs, and I could say yes or no. I'm filling in at attorneys' offices. I'm setting up booths at malls. I'm working at conventions, doing sales. And I learned so much about myself. And I learned that I loved small business and that I loved the idea that someone could just start fresh from their own idea and start a whole business. So I decided at that point to put myself through real estate school. And fast forward a year and a half later, I'm now working at the top realtor, this top home building company in our valley. I became the top realtor for our company. I had also got signed by a talent agency, a modeling talent agency, and I was making residuals that gave me the best Screen Actors Guild benefits. So I often thought back on that moment because I saw my life literally do a 180-degree shift. And I thought back to that moment where I could have just cascaded further down into my misery. But it was the question. It was that question, that ability to ask, and that question, are you doing the best you can, or are you taking the easy way out? And I think that's the type of question that comes up often for people. You know, our higher self, God, is always talking to us. But are we paying attention? Are we paying attention? Are we listening to the answer? And do we have the courage to answer those questions truthfully?
So for yourself, how do you then use that question, ask, is this the best I can be doing for myself? The secret is to be able to listen to the answers that come to you. So what kind of tips or techniques do you have for people, how they can get better at the art of asking and receiving the answers?
Well, each and every one of us has an inner wisdom, like Krista was just saying, and when we're falling deeply in love, long ago, we're in Costa Mesa, California at Mother's Restaurant eating a nice green meal, and a man of the cloth is sitting next to us, and he can't help. He says, I can see how much in love you two are. Do you mind if I share with you what causes a happy, lasting marriage? I didn't really want to talk to this guy, but I said, yeah, sure. I mean, you know, the question gets an answer. So he says, well, I've been head of Billy Graham Ministries. I'm 92 years old, and for 70 years, I've run the marriage counseling. And there's one thing only that works, and that is you pray out loud together with your beloved in the morning and at night. And I thought, wow, we'd prayed in church, we'd prayed in Holy Man Jams, we'd prayed, you know, in public at funerals and all that stuff. But we started doing that, and we ask each other the questions. When we start out in the morning, we do our spiritual work. And at night before we go to sleep, we do it out loud together. So, and we're living in the question, and the question predisposes the answer. Remember, ask and you shall receive. But nobody ever defined it until we wrote this book. I can't even believe the kind of letters that were stacks of letters and emails we're getting from people that are saying, wow, that has just transformed my life, because the line in Apostle Paul said, be ye transformed by the self-renewing of your mind. Notice the word self and renewing. And it's sort of like our corporate symbol is a butterfly, and you cannot look at caterpillar and predict butterfly. You can't predict, because question determines what the butterflyness of your life's going to be. And we've all been in this COVID confinement cocoon now for 2 years. And a breakthrough is the size of your question determines the size of your result. So, you know, people come to my seminars for the last 47 years, and they say, well, I want more money. And I pull a quarter out of my pocket and I give it to them. I say, no, that's not what I want. I said, well, that's what you asked for. More money. You got what you asked for. I say, everybody in the room, write down, I'm so happy I'm on schedule to become a millionaire by doing X, and then sign it and get your spouse or business partner to sign it. And, you know, it really will come to pass. But you got to ask yourself, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? What do I want to have? And it's not just, like I said a minute ago, being a garbage man or a school teacher. Nothing wrong with any of those, but we all have a higher calling. And I know you guys all watch Mellon Thomas Benedict, who died and came back, and he said, every one of us has this soul destiny, and if you die early, like he was gone for an hour and a half and then, you know, came back, it's just sort of amazing with near-death experiences. Everybody's saying the same thing. You've got a soul destiny, and we just want people to find it without having to die and come back.
Right. I wanted to circle back to that, like the specific questions, because I think it's important to talk about. So that we say that the asking yourself part is that reflective journey, because you can't really know where you're going until you know where you are. So we say there are like 3 phases to the ask yourself reflective journey. And those are, where am I now? Because you need to sit with yourself. And I don't know how much you guys see this, but so few people take the time, and I saw this again and again in my coaching practice, is to take the time just to, with themselves and a journal, and ask these questions. Mm-hmm. They'll just keep hurtling through life, and life's coming at them, and they're trying to keep all the balls up in the air, and they're taking all their cues from their external world, but rather than sitting with themselves and going deep within, because that's where all the answers are. So that first phase is, where am I now? What's really working? What's not working? What are the things that are unique to me, the things that call to my heart that I really want to be doing? Because often when we sit with ourselves and start to figure out, where am I right now with this? Things come up, we'll start to answer those questions, and it'll take us in a different direction. And then the second phase of that is, where do I want to be? And Mark and I say it's so important to ask that from the nth degree of your highest and greatest imagination for yourself. And people are so afraid to dream big like this. Like Mark was saying, the only limitation comes from our self-limitation. So we say, take all the limits off, go in the stage of your mind and ask yourself, who do I want to be? What do I want to be in my career? And then ask the questions backwards. Who am I serving every day? What are my products? What are my services? What do people love about what I'm sharing with the world? How does that look in its most ultimate form? And then in that way, you can start to engineer your perfect life backward. And it works if for career, it works in relationships, it works in everything you want for yourself, and your higher purpose. And then the final phase of that is, what specific action steps do I need to take? Because when we start asking those questions of ourselves, I guarantee you're going to get answers. You're going to start to get ideas. A solution's going to come to you. You're going to think of a person, or something will come up that you haven't thought of before. And then it's time to pick up the phone or write that plan down or take some kind of action, because we do live in this physical world. To manifest things, we do have to put these ideas and dreams and visions into some kind of physical action. So that's important to remember.
We're so busy. What would you say the aspect of silence is? How important is that?
She wrote a whole book called Pure Thoughts for Pure Results, and chapter 7 is exactly that, silence. I mean, the line is, be still and know that I'm God. And most of us don't take any time for stillness. So back to our personal practice, if you don't mind my waxing on a little bit about it. Once we do our little prayer and meditation and have read some spiritual literature to uplift our state of consciousness, then we literally go into the silence. And I can say unequivocally, there's never been a time when either one of us has come out without new awareness, new decisions. Sometimes she comes out so articulate, I say, wait a second, let me just pull out the cell phone and record everything you're saying. We ought to be videotaping it. It just, it's profound. And you don't know what, this is dangerous to say to two wonderful people like you have only wisdom thought leaders on, but none of us know all that we know. Because we've got this DNA that is so comprehensively brilliant, and we need to let it out. When I was with Bucky Fuller, I said we're all born geniuses and get de-geniused. We get unplugged as we go through life. And we're trying to make sure we acknowledge our respective geniuses, but then, hold up a mirror and get everybody else to see theirs. And what we're being told by all these people is they don't buy one of our books, they buy two, and they go over every question, and then they do what Crystal said, they start writing it out. And are just amazed at where they want to go, how far they could go, and what they could accomplish, because now they're awake to their heart's desire.
That is so beautiful. And it's been out for nearly 2 years now. 2020 was when you had Ask, your bridge from your dreams to your destiny. I'm sure you've had people share stories with you. I'd love to hear some of the things that people have been sharing.
Oh my gosh, we have pages of stories. I mean, it's interesting because the book starts with the fable of Michaela. And we love fables because people learn so quickly from stories. We learn from stories because all of those emotions and experiences that you read about in a story become metaphors for our own lives. So what's been amazing to us is how many people have been blown away by the fable and see themselves in Michaela's journey. So just really quickly, Michaela starts off, it takes place in the time of kings and queens, and she has virtually lost everything. And she lost her mother, father, the bill collectors took her away, her home, because her parents had been sick. So she's sleeping in a grove of trees. And basically, she falls into an exhausted sleep one night, and the being comes to her and he says, Michaela, come with me. He takes her on this journey, and he takes her to this beautiful bridge. And basically he admonishes her that the key is to start asking and never stop. So when she wakes up from that dream, something has changed inside of her. Something has transformed. She realized she was giving a precious message. So she writes it down. And then as she goes to work that day, everything looks and seems different. So just that admonishment of just start asking, she starts to wonder more. She starts to look around her more, wonder about the people around her. She starts to get curious. She starts to ask them questions. And little by little, day by day, her life starts to change. And she becomes happier and happier and more hopeful and more hopeful. And by the end of the story, Michaela's life has changed 180 degrees. She started out as her job was basically lifting those heavy rocks every day from one place to another. And I think that's how a lot of people feel about their lives, especially going through this COVID thing. It's been very challenging to people, and they really don't know what to do or where to go. They don't have a mechanism or a skill set or a tool set that can get them out of it. And so when people would start off reading the fable of Michaela, we had grown men cry. We've had guys say, I've never cried in a book before, but I saw myself in Michaela's journey, because that's how I felt. I felt out of hope. I felt like I was lifting heavy rocks every day. And this awareness that comes to Michaela, and the story is just really beautiful because she keeps having these dreams, and they keep revealing to her what to do next, and the gifts that are already seated inside of her. If she just stays open to the asking journey and is willing to ask those questions, see those gifts inside of herself, and anticipate, and wonder what those are, and wait, with excitement for the next revelation. And so that's been really fun for us. It's been life-changing for so many people. In fact, so much so, you guys, we have a couple of groups that are filmmakers that are looking at the fable of Michaela to do as a movie. They think the message inside that story is so important.
If I can hitchhike just one quick second, and that is, these guys are the ones that you've read The Alchemist, I'm sure, and so is everybody at Kryon. And The Alchemist is the only book ever to sell 150 million copies of one book. Now sold 19 million of Chicken Soup of the Teenage Soul, but that is just off the Richter scale. And they're making the movie in Morocco, and they're saying, hey, we want to make this movie with you. And then today we're talking with a guy I consider one of the top screenwriters. I'm sure you've had him on the show, Jim Stovall, who's blind, and he says, I write books that I can't read, and I make movies that I can't watch, like The Ultimate Gift. He made $100 million on it. And we put his story in our book because Jim Stovall is our dearest friend, and he is just, because I talked to him on the phone even today, he just is eclectically wise. If I come up with a problem, I can call Jim, and this guy listens at 5 times the speed of normal on audio, so he reads a couple books a day because he can't see anything.
Yeah.
How extraordinary. I think you're right. We identify with that archetype of what, Joseph Campbell coined the hero's journey.
Yep.
And every single human on the earth is going through their own hero's journey. And it begins with that sense of openness, that childlike questioning. And you're right, we lose that from when we start getting told what to think, what to say, what to wear. We lose that individual expression of self.
Not only that, subconsciously, we're always told that we're not going to get ahead, or we have a punishment at the end of our journey. And
you better behave.
You better behave.
Here's all the steps you have to do.
And so this anticipate and expect and wonder and all the things that you said, it's we believe we can create our own reality. Is this a form of that?
Oh, 100%, Lee. This is what the asking journey, the asking tools are, is it's your mechanism, it's your toolkit. It's a mechanism that's inside of all of us. And once we become aware of it, we can use it with everything. The asking yourself, asking others, asking God. And just to what you said about children, we all come into this life as these beautiful, uncorrupted children. We want to know everything. We're wildly curious about everything. We want to know who, what, when, where, why, how, and we also are not afraid to ask for more. We come into this world quite entitled, knowing that we deserve the best. And then depending on how you were parented, what happened in your school years, your jobs, you were told, oh, stop asking questions. I'm so tired of hearing you. Don't ask me any questions until your hand's raised. And then your opinion's not valued at your job, and you try to contribute and no one cares, and just life beats you up. And all of a sudden we find ourselves standing here as full grown adults, really afraid to ask anything, afraid to ask anything of anyone, afraid that we're not good enough, afraid that we don't already have all the answers. And that is really sad to us, because we're here to learn. We're here to explore. We're here to be in this bonding journey with one another, because the asking others, ask yourself, ask others, ask God. The ask others part is your bonding journey. Okay. The ask yourself is the reflective journey. Asking others is your bonding journey. We need to be able to ask one another. But in the book, we talk about the 7 roadblocks to asking, because what we found with almost everybody we talk to is people have these roadblocks, these 7 roadblocks, and some of us carry them, all of them, our entire lives. And some people just, are kind of struggling with 1 or 2 of them at any given time. So it's really important to look at those roadblocks in the book. We have these great stories around each one. So we tried to make the book relatable to everyone in every area. So the stories will help you understand the real application to your own life. But when you can identify those roadblocks, just that awareness alone is like this huge gate opening up when you thought you would come to a dead end, right? That gate of possibility just swinging open, and it's really miraculous.
Where can people find more about this? We know where you can get your books, but are there things that you'd like them to see otherwise? What's the Ask the Book Club?
We'd like everyone to go to Ask the Book Club, and they get to hear what we're trying to do. Is we want to make everybody, or facilitate everyone, becoming what's called a master asker, so they have the fulfillment of their destiny and the joy of their soul.
That's great.
That's beautiful. And so I just want to remind everyone that you can join that book club for free. It's a website. So simple. Just type in askthebookclub.com. That's all one word, askthebookclub.com. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of beautiful, juicy, delicious things on that website, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And everyone will get an invitation to a free webinar, because we want people to keep going. We want you to highlight this book and refer back to it and move with us in this journey. We need everybody on earth right now to be at their best. And we need everybody to understand the depth of what that means, because we all are a part of the source. We're part of our creator. Whatever you think of the creator, whatever you think that is, you are a piece of the creator himself. And I say himself because that's, it's hard to describe the creator. How do you describe God, right? So you're a piece of that beautiful creation. You are a star of that original light. And we want you to keep searching, keep moving forward. And the only way to do that is to ask and answer. It says in scripture, ask and you shall receive, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened. And it's interesting when you look at ask, seek and knock, what does it spell? Ask, A-S-K.
Oh, I love that.
Wow. That's great. I'm going to remember that and not give her credit.
Okay.
Okay.
That's right.
Folks.
Well, this has been so delightful, and we have just one last minute before we're going to a 10-minute break. What's any last words that you have for our beautiful community watching?
I just want to tell our listeners that there is no mechanism that will reveal what is hidden from you like asking. So when you feel stuck, deploy that skill, that art and science of asking, and I promise you, it will take you to your next place, because your journey is waiting for you. Your destiny is waiting. We just need to pull those dreams out of your heart through this journey and keep you moving across that bridge.
And life's not a dress rehearsal, so asking is the way to fulfill your life, your destiny, your future, and your fortune.
Oh,
beautiful.
So inspiring. Well, thank you both so much.
I am so delighted that we got to have that time with you both. Yay, wonderful. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. We appreciate both of you so much, and thanks for all you're doing. Really, I mean, we thank you for having us on the show, and God bless you for all that you're both doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we are going to take